Hello, this is Stacy from Stacy Rabbit Jewelry. Today I'm going to show you how to make a pair of simple earrings using the Sam's bead box called Emerald City. It really is a beautiful box. These are very Emerald City-esque earrings with all kinds of greens and golds in them. So let's get started. So this is the earring that we're going to make. So you'll need 2 of these crystals. You will need 2 of these little paisley check glass, 2 of these gold spacers, and a pair of ear wires of your choosing. The only other thing that you're going to need is some wire. You can use either German style wire or craft wire for this project. I am using a 22 gauge wire, and I find that's one of the easier ones to work with for wire wrapping, unless you need something that's sturdier for really heavy beads or pieces. So I have cut 2 pieces of wire. One is about 2 inches, and the second one is about 2.5 inches. You will need a few tools for this project. You're going to need basically 2 pliers. I have 2 chain nose pliers, but you can have bent chain nose, flat nose, whatever you have and whatever you are comfortable with. You will need a flush cutter. And finally, you will also need a round nose pliers. Let's go ahead and get started with the assembly. So I'm going to start with the top portion here. So you'll need your little paisley and your bead, and then you will use your shorter piece of wire to make this piece. So I am just moving some tools around because of course the one I need is on the bottom. The first thing I do is just trim off the very end of the wire, because we are going to make a simple loop, and you want to make sure that that end is flush cut. So we are going to start by making a simple loop. So I'm going to grab the wire, maybe 1 centimeter or 2 down, and bend it using my chain nose pliers. And you basically want that to make like the corner of a square. So you want a right angle. Then I am going to come in with my round nose pliers and grab the very end of the short piece and slowly roll that back to make a simple loop. And sometimes you have to finagle with it a little bit to get it straight. And one of the things too is you can just kind of run your finger along the wire if it gets a little wonky in shape, and it straightens it out. So we are going to go ahead and put on our paisley and our metal spacer. So it'll look basically like this. And we are going to make our other simple loop. I want my simple loops to go in the same direction for this particular piece. So I'm going to come in here with my chain nose pliers. And you can also do this by hand if you prefer versus pliers, and bend that again to make a right angle. Just moving this dish out of the way that I keep bumping my elbow into. The next step is to come in and trim this piece. So you probably could have gotten away with 1.5 or 1 3/4 inches, but I always like to cut a little extra. And then we are going to do the same thing over again. Hopefully we get a grip on it this time. What am I doing? And just roll that back. And then I usually come in, make sure that these are kind of, my pieces are straight. And this is our first piece. We can go ahead and attach that to our design. So we are just going to open our simple loop, basically by twisting it, putting on our ear wire, and then just closing that up. And we've got like half of an earring done. Let me move this and this. And we are gonna go and wrap our super cool crystal. So in order to do that, I warm the wire a little bit. I just find it makes it a little easier to bend and I'm not fighting the wire. So you're going to basically thread your crystal onto the wire, and roughly in the middle is fine. You're going to go and bend that up. I'm just trying to look here and see how much space I left. So not a ton. So that looks like pretty okay. So our next step is one of these wires is going to get bent. So it is pointing this direction, and then we want the other one to go straight up like that. So they're basically making a 90-degree angle. So the next thing that we're gonna do, one of the things I find helpful here is to, this one that's sticking straight out, warm it a little bit. And then we are going to grab this right here and wrap this wire around the one that's pointing straight up. And I'm just looking at this piece. So I wrapped about 3 times. You can wrap with your hand, or you can also come in, which is my preferred way, whoops, and hit the camera, and just wrap with a tool. Just like that. And then what we're gonna do is cut this little tail off. And just tuck that in using a chain nose pliers. So just make sure that little piece sticking out is flush against this wire so it doesn't poke you. And then we are going to just put a simple loop on here. So I want the back of my loop to face the back of this crystal. So I'm going to bend my wire at a 90-degree angle toward the front. And then I am going to come in here and cut this. And you noticed I made sure that the flush side was pointing toward my piece, and what that will do is just create the flush side on this side of the wire, and that really just helps you get a better simple loop. So again, same thing like we did before. Grab it at the end and just start rolling back to make a simple loop. I'm not going to worry about closing this one because I need to pop it open in 2 seconds to finish the design. So our last step is to connect these two pieces. So I'm just making sure this loop is straight, and I'm going to make sure this one is open. Direction does matter on this one, so let's see if I get this right. That is right. So you're going to pop it on there and just close this loop. And if you need to straighten it or anything like that, you can do that. Yeah, mine is still a little wonky, so I'm here trying to get it in plane. That looks better. So these are the earrings that we made. They look like that. And they are super sparkly. They would be perfect for going to see Wicked or anything like that. So thank you again for joining me. This was a lot of fun, and hope you'll check back in and see what I make next. Bye.